Today we will start talking about contracts. The concept of contract is very integral to Islamic finance because every transaction is based on contracts. So there are certain terminologies associated with it. Uh, we will become familiar with those terminologies and the basic concepts related with contracts. Uh, so, so on the basis of these basic concepts, any contract that is allowed, that is permissible under this framework, uh, can be termed as Sharia compliant contract. So, in any contract, normally there is a subject of contract, and the contract sometimes deals with goods and
Sir, I
sometimes
can hear you.
uh, can anyone confirm, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yes, sir,
Yes,
you are
sir, you are
audible.
audible.
Okay, thank you for confirming. uh, so in any contract, this subject matter, I mean contract deals with any particular goods. Sometimes it deals with goods and sometimes it deals with wealth, or the word for wealth in Arabic is mal. So mal is normally, the concept of mal is very integral to the contracts because normally the goods, either goods are the subject matter of a contract. If it's a sales and purchase contract, then uh, obviously the goods will be involved there, and the price is normally paid in the form of currency, in the form of uh, currency notes or any other things. If there is uh, barter exchange, then I mean wealth. So the concept of wealth comes in contracts, and sometimes the contracts also deals with usufruct. So there is a leasing contract, rental contracts, where somebody does not transfer the ownership of a particular product, ownership of a particular goods, but he is simply transferring the right to use that product. So if I am taking a house on rent, so my landlord has transferred the right to use that flat or that property, but the ownership remains with the lessor or lessor and lessee. The concept of lessor and lessee is there. Uh, there is a party who owns the product, who owns the property, and there is a party who owns the right to use that property. So that is the term for that is usufruct. So sometimes the goods is transferred, and sometimes the ownership of the goods is not transferred, but the usufruct of the goods is transferred, or the right to use that product is transferred. So if I am riding a Uber, or if I am riding any other uh, car rentals, so I have been transferred the right to use that car for a particular period of time, and I have to pay the rentals or the price for that. But the transfer of ownership is not there. So usufruct of goods and transfer of ownership of the goods. Sometimes the usufruct of the goods is transferred. Usufruct means right to use a particular product. That happens in case of rentals. And another term for rentals is lease. And sometimes the ownership itself is transferred. That happens in contracts of purchase and sale. Or sales, a contract involves transfer of ownership, but a lease contract involves transfer of the right to use that product, the right to use that goods. So contracts deal with both kinds of transaction, whether it's a transaction to transfer the ownership or whether it's a transaction to transfer the right to use that product. So leasing uh, and rental is also subject of contracts. So usufructs of goods and transfer of ownership of the goods, usufruct from one to another party. So of course there will be two parties. Otherwise, how can a contract be finalized? Because every contract involves two parties, minimum two parties. It is pertinent, therefore, to briefly describe all of these concepts. Mal. So the assignment that I had given you on Bitcoin, that also contains some discussion on the concept of mal. So mal is anything that has some value and that can be owned, that can be possessed, that has some utility, that has uh, has some value in the eyes of people. That can be termed as mal, and it is not necessary that mal should be physical. I mean, mal can be intangible also. Right now, say for example, we have digital money. So a bank simply adds some digital numbers in our accounts, and that is money. And similarly, central bank does not need to print physical money. It has, I mean, it can simply add 0000 and create money out of thin air in computers. So, so the concept is that anything that has value can be termed as mal. So, so gold is mal, silver is mal, paper currency or fiat currency or fiduciary money is also mal because paper money or fiat money can also be used for uh, purchasing goods and services. So and can be used as a medium of exchange. So it can be termed as mal. So wealth is any, and sometimes here the word legal is mentioned, has legal and material. So law actually is framed by the people of a nation, people of a country, and sometimes a lot of things, uh, I mean, are not legal. Uh, Legal means it is not. There is no law regarding that, but it is commonly accepted by the people. So that is equivalent of legal position. Although there is no explicit law for dealing with that particular kind of wealth, but since it is acceptable normally among the people, so social acceptance is also equivalent to legal acceptance. So wealth is anything that is usable and has legal and material value for the people. It means that anything considered mal from a juristic point of view should be of value. जब किसी चीज की वैल्यू होगी तभी तो लोग उसको they will people will strive to achieve that. So so that is the concept of mal, that anything that is valuable, possessable. So it should be valuable, it should be possessable, and it should have a legitimate use. Legitimate use. It also includes abstract and intangible rights. So, and it is also not necessary that wealth should be physical. Wealth can be in digital form also. Wealth can be in intangible form also. For example, patents are an intangible thing. I mean, intellectual property rights, trademarks, these are intangible assets from a company's point of view. But these trademarks, intellectual property rights are also valuable, and companies strive to achieve these valuable things. So this will come under the definition of wealth or mal. Fiduciary is a word that is commonly used for fiat money. Fiat money means paper money or the government issued money. So there are different terms for that: fiduciary money, fiat money, paper money. So paper money is also a kind of mal because it is used as a medium of exchange. Medium of exchange. So, so this is the concept of mal. Mal or property in Islamic commercial law is divided into movable and immovable, fungible, non-fungible, and finally determinate and indeterminate. Let us understand what are these categories. Immovable, you understand very clearly. Say, for example, uh, I mean land and house. These are immovable property. Immovable because we cannot move them from one place to another easily. And then there are sort of there are movable properties, for example, gold, for example, say for example, digital money, say for example, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a movable property, movable wealth. So this classification is very clear. And the second classification is fungible, non-fungible. Fungible and non-fungible. Fungible, the paper currency is a fungible currency because the 10 rupee that I have in my pocket has equal value to the 10 rupee that is in your pocket. So it can be exchanged because it has equal value. 100 rupee, 1000 rupee printed by RBI, whether it is possessed by any people here or any people in any other place has similar value. And so this is the concept of fungible. So they are fungible. And non-fungible means if the thing that I have is different from the thing that you have, and every piece is unique, every item is unique, and since it is unique, so their value also differs from each other. So say for example, right now in blockchain, we have a concept of NFT, non-fungible tokens. So, and the artists are issuing their art pieces on blockchain. So each art piece is a unique product, is a unique item, is a unique thing. I mean, each item is a unique thing and are different, distinguishable from each other. But as far as Bitcoin is concerned, the Bitcoin that you have in your wallet has similar value to the Bitcoin that I have in my wallet. But if I have some art piece with me, and you have some art pieces, digital art in your wallet, so your art will be different from my art, and they are not, they will significantly differ in value from each other. So this is the concept of fungible and non-fungible. Sometimes say for example, the currency that right now we have is fungible. Bitcoin is fungible, but art pieces are non-fungible because each item is unique. Then there is another classification that is uh, ayan and then, malul ayan, malul then, or determinate wealth and indeterminate wealth. Say, for example, if I give you something and I ask you, and this is part of the contract, that I am giving you my mobile and you have to return it back tomorrow. So this contract involves, you have to return me the same mobile that I have given to you. So this is determinate, uh, determinate wealth. It is determined. You cannot return me money. You cannot return me any other the equivalent, any other thing that is equivalent in value to the mobile that I have given to you. And the other concept is indeterminate, that you owe something, some amount of money to me. You can give that amount of money to me if it is not defined. You can give in the form of Bitcoin to me. You can give it to me in the form of dollars. You can give it to me, return me my money in the form of Indian rupee also, or in any other thing if it is not defined. So this is the concept of Malul Ayan and Malul Dan. So Ayan means the specific thing has been mentioned, and then is just an obligation, but in what form the person is obliged to return back has not been defined. So that is called Dan. Dan is the word for debt. In English, we call it debt. And if it is not defined, then we can call it in fiqh literature. This difference is mentioned, that some of the mal is ayan mal, and other and if it is not defined, then it is dan. Ayan is a specific or determinate type of mal, while dan is a non-specific or indeterminate property. In contracts, when a person is to get a certain specific property from another, this is determinate or ayan. So I have given you example that if I give you mobile, and so you have to return me the same mobile. So that is example of determinate or ayan. When a non-specific unit of any kind of property is to be taken, it is regarded as that. And when the obligation is not defined in any particular product, in any particular commodity or currency or money, then that kind of mal is known as dan. Hence, gold, silver, currency, grain, oil, and the like are kinds of indeterminate or dan property. While giving counter delivery in exchange contracts, one can give any units of these items legally. Then is the responsibility or obligation of a person to another person that has to be fulfilled by paying any units of the relevant property equivalent to the obligation. So, which specific gold coins you will give it to me? So it is not necessary. You can give me any gold coin. You can give me any silver coin. You can give me any currency. So this is then, because I mean, it is not specified. You can give me any gold or any in any form. Then there is concept of mabir and saman. This concept is related with the sales and purchase transaction. Mabi is simply the subject matter of a sales transaction, the thing which is being sold or the thing which is being purchased. That thing is called mabiya. Bay' कहते हैं खरीदने को, बा या आइन bay. उसी से mabiya. Mabiya यानी जिस चीज को खरीदा या बेचा जाए, mabiya. Saman is the Arabic word for price or कीमत or counter value. Counter value is called saman. So this differentiation is important because this subject in Islamic finance, the subject matter is different from the price. So based on this concept, normally fuqaha have declared the trading of currencies as not permissible, because currency is saman and mabi is the subject matter, and subject matter or the product is purchased and sold using saman, using medium of exchange. So medium of exchange itself should not be subject, it should be different from the subject. So that is the concept in fiqh. So with respect to the exchange of goods, Islamic law distinguishes between mabiya, the subject of sale, and saman. Saman is price. So price and goods are both two different things. Currency notes and debt certificates are not a valid subject of sale in exchange of homogeneous currencies. They represent saman. serve as a medium of exchange but cannot adopt the role of a commodity, as their exact utility cannot be assessed before they are actually spent. Uh, these are issued by the state or its authority, and people accept them with full confidence as they accept gold, silver, as they accepted gold and silver in the past. A commodity, on the other hand, is the principal object of sale from which the benefit is ultimately to be derived in lieu of a price as settled between the contracting parties. Then there is concept of ownership. Accordingly, ownership can be of any of the following categories of assets and can be acquired through contracts. So ownership is acquired through contracts, sometimes through succession, and sometimes through addition to the existing owned assets of someone. So if I own a buffalo and the buffalo has given birth to a calf, then I'm owner of the calf also. So that is the example of addition to the existing owned assets of someone. Sometimes the ownership comes from contracts. If I have purchased it from another person, then it has come to me. The ownership has come to me through contract. And if I have my father has given it to me, then it has come to me through succession. And sometimes uh, it comes from already existing owned assets. Ownership of assets is called milkul ayn. Ownership of debt is called milkul dain. These are Arabic words. Milk मतलब ownership. Milk ownership. आयन अभी हमने पढ़ा ही है कि आयन कहते हैं किसी स्पेसिफिक प्रॉपर्टी को. If it is defined, so if it's a flat, it's a iron. If it's a particular land or plot, so that is also a iron. And if then is the Arabic word for debt. So ownership is normally of three types: milkul ayn, milkul dan, and milkul manfiat. Manfiat is the Arabic word for usufruct. So if I am living in a rented house, so I am the owner of the usufruct. I'm not the owner of the, it's not milkul ayn, it's not milkul dan. It's actually milkul manfaat because I have the right to use that property. I have the right to use that flat. So the leasing or rental contracts involve ownership of usufruct और मनफियात नफा से बना है. नफा यानी उसका जो यूजेज है. I have the right to take the benefit of that property. So if a person gets ownership of iron, the asset itself, he gets ownership of its manfaat also. So if you own something, so you are the owner of that particular product or property, as well as you are the owner of its usufruct also. So if you own a car, so it's milkul ayn also and milkul manfaat also, because you can drive that car, you can take benefit from that car, isn't it? But it's not vice versa. It's not vice versa. If I have rented your car, then I am not the owner of that car, but I am the owner for particular period of time and I'm giving you the rent for using that car. So I am the owner of usufruct. I am not the owner of that asset. So if a person gets ownership of iron, the asset itself, he gets ownership of its manfaat also, but not the other way around. Meaning that getting usufruct of something does not mean ownership of the asset itself, as in the case of इजारा. तो अगर मुझे कहीं घूमने जाना है, Airbnb पे मैंने किसी का घर बुक किया, अब मैं उसके घर पे जाके ये समझूं कि आई एम द ओनर ऑफ दैट हाउस आल्सो, सो इट्स नॉट करेक्ट. I have the right to use that house for the period of time for which I have taken that rent, that house on rent. But I am not the owner of that house. I'm not owner of that asset. I'm not owner of that property, but I am the owner of the usufruct of that property. So as is the case of Ijara, where usufruct is transferred to the lessee and the ownership remains with the lessor. Milkul Ain is definite and not related to time, meaning that when someone gets ownership of an asset through purchase, the asset is subject to his discretion. His ownership cannot be ended or done away with, but can be transferred with his free will and according to any valid contract as per the respective juristic rules. For example, a buyer of a commodity on credit becomes the owner of that commodity. So if I have purchased something on credit, I am now the owner of that commodity, even if I have not paid the price. And after execution of the seller has no jurisdiction to take it back from the purchaser. He can only ask for payment of the debt or the credit price. As such, the concept of transfer of ownership of an asset as distinguished from the transfer of its usufruct is of immense importance for Islamic banks as it determines the liability, rights, risk, and reward for them in their asset-based operations. Islamic banks normally indulge in various kinds of contracts. The most popularly, we will discuss some of them. The most important one is Murabaha. Then there are Salam and Istisna also. Then there are Musharka. So some of them are based on transfer of ownership, and some of them are based on transfer of usufruct. So I mean, sometimes the bank transfers the ownership to the purchaser, and sometimes the banks does not transfer. The bank does not transfer the ownership and simply is renting that property to the buyer. And after sometimes, I mean, the uh, the ownership is also transferred, but normally it's a ijara contract or lease contract or rent contract. And rent contract is different from a sales contract. Milkul manfaat or usufruct is related to time, meaning that usufruct of any asset against rental can be taken or given for a specified time. Thus, a valid ijara lease contract always needs stipulation about the lease period. An important categorization of goods is that of fungible. Fungible जो discuss हो गया, fungible, non-fungible. If uh, an article is
Can you
said to
explain one more time fungible and non-fungible?
fungible means uh, which are similar in their value and property and their characteristics with each other, cannot be distinguished from each other. For example, if you have some money in your bank account and I have some money in my bank account, so this money is same and cannot be distinguished from each other. Similarly, the Bitcoin that I own, that and the Bitcoin that you have in your wallet has same value. It does not matter uh, what is the distinguishing feature uh, of my Bitcoin to your Bitcoin. But then there are certain types of wealth which are different from each other. Say, for example, the art pieces. The artists generate some unique art pieces. So the paintings that I own will be different from the paintings that you own, and their value will be different from each other. Similarly, two musicians are creating, music. So each music is different and unique, and is distinguishable from each other. And so art pieces, music, these things are called non fungible wealth, non-fungible goods. But if they are not distinguishable from each other, then this feature is called fungible. So paper money is fungible. The 100 rupee that you have is same with the 100 rupee that I have. Your money will buy the same amount of goods that my money can buy. So the paper money is an example of fungible money, fungible. But the art pieces, the music, these are examples of non-fungible goods or non-fungible wealth. So Bitcoin, say for example, is a fungible money because it's not distinguishable from each other. Each Bitcoin has similar value and similar characteristic, and similar. All Bitcoins are of similar value. So similarly, all 100 rupee notes have similar value, and whether we have some different series number on them does not matter. An article is said to be, and then there's Arabic term for that, fungible and non-fungible. An article is said to be misleading if all of its units are similar, like wheat or rice. And wheat and rice is also example of fungible. If rice of particular varieties, तो अगर कोई बासमती का कोई स्पेसिफिक राइस है जो आपके पास है और मेरे पास भी है, तो वो दिस इज नॉट डिस्टिंग्विशेबल फ्रॉम ईच अदर, सो वी कैन कॉल इट फंजिबल. सो कमोडिटीज मोस्टली आर फंजिबल, जैसे लोहा है, स्टील है, जिंक है, ऑल कमोडिटीज जिनकी फीचर मतलब एक पर्टिकुलर क्वालिटी की है, देन it's fungible. Commodities are normally fungible. This categorization is important for Islamic financial institutions because, for example, salam can be conducted for fungible goods, and istisna is used for non-fungible goods. Salam and istisna are particular types of contracts for financing big projects, for example, road construction, for example, industry establishment, or shopping malls, construction of shopping mall, real estate projects. So the contracts of Salam and Istisna are related with such large projects, and so if the product is fungible, then Salam contract is relevant, and when a non-fungible goods is involved, say for example, every real estate project is unique, so that particular contract will be called istisna contract. So if the production involves some fungible, for example, a farmer may contract farming. There is a concept of contract farming, and the company may ask a farmer to produce a specific type of wheat. So that particular type of contract can be designed in a form that is called salam. So in salam, the company will pay in advance to the farmer. The advance money will be paid to the farmer, and what kind of seeds will be used and what type of things are expected. What is the characteristic of the wheat that is being cultivated is already known, and so salam is the relevant contract for that. But if the contract involves the construction of, say, for example, metro network in a particular city, so it's a very complicated project, and it has every metro project is unique. So that the contract, the Islamic contract for that nature is called istisna contract. Then there are some other terms that you should be familiar with. One can these are three words: misak, ahad, or wada, and aqd. These are related terms, but there are differences among them also. Misak means a covenant and refers to an earnest and firm determination on the part of the concerned parties to fulfill the contractual obligation. It has more sanctity than ordinary contracts. तो जैसे कि जब इंसान को अल्लाह ने पैदा किया तो उनसे मिसाक लिया, यानी एक बहुत मतलब ऐसा कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जिसकी बहुत ज्यादा वैल्यू होती है. सो इन अरबी से फॉर एग्जांपल the contract between two tribes or two group of people, since it's of more importance, so the misak, the word misak is used for that kind of treaties between two nations or two kinds of people. Similarly, the contract of marriage is also not a normal contract. It has a lot of importance. It is very it has sanctity. So contract of marriage is also sometimes called misak, because it's not a normal contract, but it has more importance. So the word in Arabic for contract is aqd, but some special type of aqds are known as misak. The Arabic term for contract is aqd. Aqd. For normal contracts, for financial transactions. But there are some special contracts, say for example, the contract of marriage, the contract between two nations, and sometimes it is used in social context also, in religious context also. For example, the contract between God and humans. So the word in that case that is used is misak. Example of misak are the treaties in the early Islamic era between Muslims and other nations, and the contract of marriage. As such, this term has more relevance with religious and social covenants than with economic and financial transactions. As far as economic and financial transactions are concerned, the word that is used for contract is aqd. This is the word for contract. ahad क्या होता है? ahad is simply translated as unilateral promise. पार्टी तो इसमें दो होती हैं, लेकिन this is unilateral. One party promises to do something and creates obligation on himself to do something or to pay something. Ahad refers to a unilateral promise or an undertaking, although sometimes it also covers a bilateral obligation. Sometimes both parties may promise something to each other. That can also be a type of ahad or wa'da. The Holy Quran has used this word in both senses. And fulfill every ahad. Wa'awful uqud. For every ahad will be inquired into. Innal ahda kana mas'ula. On the day of judgment, you will be asked about the promises that you have made. So it is necessary to fulfill all the promises, all the ahad. And in Islamic transactions, sometimes the ahad or unilateral promise is also involved. So ahad is also termed as wa'da in the fiqh literature. Another related term that I have also already mentioned, that in financial transactions, in financial contracts, the word that we use is aqd. Aqd, which lexically means conjunction or to tie. Aqd, जैसे निकाह को भी कहते हैं अक़द निकाह. अक़द निकाह यानी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ऑफ मैरिज. तो अरबी में या उर्दू में उसको कहते हैं अक़द निकाह, निकाह का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. तो सेम चीज है, फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस में भी द सेम वर्ड इज यूज्ड, अक़द. अक़द which lexically means conjunction or to tie is synonymous with the word contract of modern law. Murshid Al-Hayran has defined it as the conjunction of an offer emanating from one of the two contracting parties with the acceptance by the other in a manner that is that it affects the subject matter of the contract. So offer and acceptance, these are basic foundation of any contract. One party offers, another party accepts that offer, and mutual agreement is achieved out of free will. There is no coercion. There is no. Both of the parties are exercising their free will to enter into contract. That is normally achieved through offer and acceptance and mutual agreement. These are some basic elements of any contract. But any contract involves offer and acceptance and mutual agreement. And another important thing is free will. Both of the parties should be free to enter into that contract. It is affected by the combination of an offer and acceptance. Offer कहते हैं अरबी में कहते हैं ईजाब, और एक्सेप्टेंस का वर्ड है कबूल. यहाँ लिखा कबूल लेकिन ये होना चाहिए कबूल. तो ईजाब एंड कबूल, ऑफर एंड एक्सेप्टेंस, ईजाब एंड कबूल. तो जैसे निकाह में होता है, निकाह में पूछते हैं कि फला की बेटी इतने महर के साथ आपके निकाह में दे रहे हैं, इस तरह से एक जुमला बोलते हैं. तो जो वो पूछते हैं कि तो उस अगर वो कहता है मुझे कबूल है, मैंने कबूल किया, तो वो हो गया एक्सेप्टेंस. और तो एक पार्टी ऑफर करती है, एक पार्टी एक्सेप्ट करती है. ऑफर एंड एक्सेप्टेंस, offer and acceptance. So when both are valid offer and a valid acceptance, that will result into a valid contract or aqd. Among modern jurists, Abdul Razak Al-Sanhuri defines aqd as the concurrence of two wills to create an obligation or to shift it or to relinquish it. So every contract का outcome क्या होता है? It creates some obligations. जैसे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट अगर सेल्स एंड परचेज का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, तो उसमें जो सेलर है उसकी ऑब्लिगेशन है कि उसको डिलीवर करना है सर्टेन प्रोडक्ट, और जो बायर है उसका ऑब्लिगेशन ये है कि उसको प्राइस पे करना है. और तो द कॉन्करेंस ऑफ टू विल्स टू क्रिएट एन ऑब्लिगेशन और टू शिफ्ट इट और टू relinquish. An analysis of the above definitions would reveal that a contract involves the existence of two parties, very basic element. There should be two parties to any contract. The issuance of an outward act depicting internal willingness. Both parties should express their willingness and agreement to that contract. One party expresses it through ijab, that is called offer. Another party accepts that offer. And so offer and acceptance are also very basic element in the contract. Then two parties, free will, expression of free will, then offer and acceptance. Further, there must be legal union between the two declarations regarding the subject matter or the contractual obligation. There must be legal union between the two declarations regarding the subject matter of the obligation. Okay, thank you very much for joining this class. I have, I can empathize. I have empathy for you that you are doing online classes and you are not able to engage with each other. The beauty of MBA is that you are supposed to interact with each other in the physical place, and you are not able to do that. So I hope that next semester maybe we will meet with each other in the campus, in the department, and but till that, bear with this online, you know, online classes that are classes, but in real thing, I mean, it, it's not class in real sense.
Sir, I have a
Okay.
question.
Okay, Abdul Ahad, you want to ask something?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please.
Sir, as the exchange of currencies is considered as wrong in Islam, so we can also not buy sell gold and silver because in earlier times gold and silver also considered as currency. So in today's time we can buy or sell currencies for the purpose of trade or not. Please tell me.
Abdul Ahad, so your point is that gold and silver is also
Sir, my question is: can gold and silver can be traded in we can able to trade or not? Because at that time it is also considered as a medium of exchange. Means it is also considered as a currency for some commodities.
uh, think on this. I will respond to your question in the next class. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Abdul Ahad?
Thank you.
Okay. And if you have something and you come across anything specific on this matter, then we can discuss in the next class.